Oh man, here they come again.
Here they come again. This still has skin on the skull.
But I know that there's a lot of conspiracy theories about, CERN and 666, and who knows? From my perspective, I would say the physicists have been corrupted by money, and CERN is just a way of life for physicists, theoretical particle physicists. It's what they do to earn a living.
So I have been in communication with a professor out of, I believe, Chicago. He was one of the authors. There's a book that came out that circulates around CERN, but they're all fictional stories, and it was actually put out by, I forget what it's called. My wife has it, but it was actually published by scientists from CERN and other people throughout the world. It's like a collaboration effort of coming out with a fictional book. It's, to me, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand why you're wasting your time coming out with a quote unquote fictional book. But the one person involved in one of the stories, he said, he suggested about this idea of another realm and actively participating in that other realm through such things of like portals and entryways, gateways. And he is a professor at a college here in the United States. And so I reached out to him and asked him if he would be willing to talk to me about the idea. And I referenced what I was talking about. And he wanted to make sure. He was like, I want to stress to you that I do not believe this is real. It is just a theory. And I was like, oh, no, I understand, but I still want to talk to you. And he said he would come on my show to talk to me. So I've been kind of dragging my feet on that. And I don't know why, other than I feel insecure to talk to somebody that's so smart. But he's going to say something. I'm like, I don't understand what you just said to me. So next question, so.
Well, portals and stargates and things, you have to realize it's a very unfamiliar technology because you're dealing in an area where you're biasing space itself, the continuum, in a very special way to allow a connection to some other realm, some other time. And the history of this type of technology really starts back in the 60s and 70s with the Philadelphia experiment, which was a magnetic resonant Stargate that they kind of opened up, and Montauk after that maybe as well. And again, it was magnetic resonant fields, which are the predecessor to the modern day one that supposedly uses lasers and high frequency sound and combination to generate the gateway, the opening. And I'm sure there is a way to do it, and I would love to see it personally. But all I did was write my speculation based on what little I know about that as to how it would be built and what it was capable of doing. I'm personally am against time travel, going back in time, especially. Maybe not so much going forward in time, but back in time, I don't think we should mess with what has already happened. It's just too risky in too many ways.
Do you think that the government has done that?
Well, so I've been told from my connection on the other side. They claim they have been doing it quite regularly. So the Project Looking Glass or whatever, there's something going on there. And I'm in the same boat as everybody else there when these people come forward and make these claims and such. My claim or my connection to it was from talking with a medium who was talking with people on the other side that says, and one of them was Einstein, who says, yeah, they're doing this, they're bad at it, and somebody needs to start talking about it, because my main goal here is really to combine religion and science back together under one umbrella, really with religion being the top of the umbrella, the very tip, and science is just a part of what happens from the creator. So Stargates, all this stuff is part of the design. We have been given this ability to manipulate time and space in order to have the luxury and then maybe the necessity of being able to travel to different areas of the universe like that, or different times. But something like I said, the past, I don't like that idea, because that's people trying to change things to a reality that they think would be better. And I doubt that it is.
I mean, maybe that's why the world is so weird the way it is right now, you know? They're like, oh, let's push this button. And oh, crap, that was the wrong one.
Yeah, the Mandela effect may be explaining the tamperings with time, and that there's certain things people remember that now no longer actually happened. One of which is Mandela dying sooner than he actually did.
Yeah.
Which I gotta admit, I remember that too. And it's odd that all of a sudden he's not really died when I thought he did. He's died way later. And I said, I don't remember that happening like that. But, who knows? Who knows?
It's wild that you bring that up too, because of all places, I wouldn't have expected this to happen. This past week, I was at church and there was this guest speaker or guest pastor coming in to speak, and I was introduced to him. And every time my pastor's just like, this is what he does for a living. Oh man, you got, like blow my cover kind of thing. But the guy, he goes to me, he goes, oh, I'm fascinated by that stuff. What do you think about Mandela effect? I'm just like, I wasn't expecting to talk about this today, but you brought up the Philadelphia experiment, right? And first of all, I think that and you might think differently, so I'd be very interested if you do, but I do think that there's a difference between teleportation in the sense of here 1 minute, go and at another place and the next, and time travel. I think there's a difference there from what I understand. Do you think there's a difference there? Because the Philadelphia experiment is something that a lot of people say it wasn't real. My uncle, who spent his entire career in the Navy, I had him on the show years ago, and he laughed at me when I asked him about it. I was like, bro, we're on a paranormal show. What do you think I'm going to ask this question? Yeah. But right. I personally think that there's at least some truth to it. I mean, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, the Stargate can be dimensional. You go to other dimensions. You go to other times. Or you go to other physical locations in this universe or any other universe. And so there has to be some sort of working mechanism, in probably supercomputer controlled, that somehow you would have to have some math to coupling math to explain how space is affected, so that you break into these portals. And then, once you do it, then you can start changing the frequency and the energy levels and stuff and see what happens. And then from that, build a script that, okay, if we do this frequency at this energy, we'll get a time distortion of this, and it'll open a gateway to this time. And so those details, apparently, the government has worked out to some degree, maybe from reverse engineering what aliens ETs have done. I'm sure they have this interdimensional Stargate technology, because it's a way more efficient way than doing the entry level Stargate on the entry level faster than light technology that I'm working on. The Stargate technology is just pretty much instantaneous. So if you want to go to a different place in the universe, you just dial it up and the portal opens and the other side is at the other place. It's like a direct, immediate, you pass through it, you're there. And I've heard that advanced alien technologies, they're not just thousands of years ahead of us, they're millions of. Can you imagine what our technology will be in 10 million years from now? Look at it in the last 100 years, how fast it's grown. In 10 million years or whatever, we're going to have this kind of technology for sure. And it's it's above even what my imagination can come up with to some degree. I got the basics of how it works and how it has to work. And that there's two different ways: the magnetic resonant field, which is weaker and more primitive, and then the more advanced model with the accelerated particle beam, the light beam coming out of the framework. Um, I don't know how they dodged the gamma ray problem, but that's something they must have worked out. But yeah, they may be accelerating it so far beyond that frequency that there isn't gamma rays, but you don't want to get cooked going through the the Stargate. So maybe they use it, it converts it to neutrinos somehow. It's a fascinating technology and something fun to think about for sure.
Yeah.
And I would like to be approached sometimes because of being on these shows and writing these books. I get contacted by people that claim that they time travel, and they'll spend hours talking to me. And these are not guys that are on Stephen Greer or anything. This guy, one guy that I got it on tape. I haven't really decided to upload it yet because I'm still trying to figure out if it was real or not. But I got to tell you, his story was consistent, very similar to a lot of the other time travelers' stories. I've got connections with people that seen UFOs close up and were able to identify that in this one particular case, the UFO was actually one of ours. So I know that we have the technology for UFOs, and we had it from at least the 70s, probably earlier. We managed to reverse engineer these. And if there's Stargates in there, we probably reverse engineered them too. I don't think on our own we could have ever figured out what to do. It would have had to been a captured model from somewhere. And Bob Lazar talks about, there wasn't just one spaceship, there was like 9. And some of these were archaeological finds. So who knows what stuff they found, like even in the movie, like in Egypt or whatever. They may have found the Stargate somewhere and reverse engineered it.
And on that note, I would just like to remind people, and people say this is a conspiracy theory, but I've talked to enough people that say they remembered this on the news, that in 2003, that year, I graduated high school. So think of I was 17 years old. I'm not paying attention to the news. All I know is that we're at war with Iraq, and I was considering going into the military because my feelings were hurt. I'm thankful that I didn't, because I actually wound up losing a lot of friends that did join, and I'm thankful for those who served, especially based off of the things that we know now as to how things happened and what we were doing over there. But on that note, this has been claimed a lot of places, and I was just talking to a friend of mine just last week who is probably about 5 or 6 years older than me, and he remembers this on the news, how archaeologists, before we went into Iraq on Operation Freedom or something like that, they discovered supposedly the burial place, the tomb of Nimrod, Gilgamesh, and that they recovered artifacts out of there. And that the locals say that the first ones on the scene was not tomb raiders, but the military, the United States military, and they took things with them. And so what kind of technology did they discover in 2003 that we are now starting to see 20 years later rolled out on mass stages? Is there a reason why they're talking about, UFOs and UFO technology and interdimensional beings? So that's what David Grush is talking about. And I'm not totally convinced that David Grush is a 100% authentic whistleblower. He might be, but some of the things that he's saying really strikes me as maybe he was even psychologically nudged into that direction to be a whistleblower, even if he doesn't even realize it. But to say things that, to me, because he doesn't come out and say these are beings from other realms. The way he says it, I'm not sure if he is even comfortable or willing to say certain things, but I do wonder if it goes all the way back to things like that. And I'm sure the whole Gilgamesh tomb raiders is not the first time we've done such things, or governments of the world have. But I wonder if that was one of those times that we had an ancient technology that we discovered and extracted it to start using in reverse engineering.
You see, that's the problem. Our government not only is stealing the discoveries over here, crash spacecraft or whatever, but in other countries they just mow over everybody in that country and say, we're coming in, we're taking this. And uh, when you make a discovery and it becomes known to a certain level of politician or government agency, they swoop right in there. The only chance we'd have to ever get this kind of archaeological discovery is they have to keep it secret, and then bring it into some museum and then make a big announcement. But in the process of doing that, our government's got people in the museums, they got people in the media, and they're going to intercept and take all the evidence. And so they're keeping us in the dark. So all we have left is rumor.